How's it going, guys? Jackzer here, and today I'm going to be showing you VR graphic settings for iRacing. It's important because VR can really be very taxing, even if you have a good system that runs well in, let's say, triples or not even triples, just with a normal monitor. But then you hop into VR and you're getting hit with some serious frame damage. I'm going to show you the first things that you want to be kind of reducing. Now, I do have another guide on a graphics tutorial kind of for iRacing. I'll leave that in the link below in the description. There's also going to be a link at the end of the video, so you can watch this video and then you can watch that one after if you're looking for more details. This here, I'm going to quickly go over everything, and I'm also just going to explain the heavy hitters as they come up. So we're just jump straight into it. Resolution here, this is going to say something different. This is your display resolution that's going to be on your screen. Don't worry too much about that. You're obviously going to see it different, so you don't need to touch that. Border mode, if you are recording, you can hit this and it'll make it small and big again, and then you'll regain the taskbar at the bottom. If you don't record, don't worry about it. If you do record, you'll know exactly what I mean. Unfortunately, it's just that's the fix I found. There may be a better one. You can go full screen, but I hate full screen, so that's that. Double click border. Gamma and brightness, do that to your own content. I don't touch anything there. I'm really satisfied with the way it looks, but if things are a little dark or you want things a little darker, that's how you can do it. So this is that. FPS, I'm going to assume this is better to have on. I don't know too much about that, I'm going to be honest, so leave that on. It was already on, so I ain't fucking with that. Next, we have this section. We're just going to focus on this. It's quite a lot, so we're just going to jump in here. So sky and clouds, you're not looking up so much, so don't be afraid to put this down to low. It's not major savings once you go up into high. There is, from high to medium there is, but from medium to low, not so much. Cars, again, this can have a small bit of savings. With this setting, it's kind of low or high. Personally, I can run high. None of these are serious heavy hitters apart from this guy. So objects, crowds, grandstands, and event. They make very little difference if you have them on low. If most cases, this is an oversimplification. You can watch my longer video if you want the bigger one. It basically turns 3D things 2D. So they're still there, but they're 2D. So you, like with grandstands on low, they're just 2D. So the difference between low and off is minimal. So, you know, don't risk driving around on a weird track with no grandstands or no crowds when turning them off doesn't really save anything, especially in VR. You know, you don't want a broken experience like that. Foliage, turn that off. Obviously, if you can run it high, leave it on high. I'm going to leave it on high myself. Particles, again, this is a heavy hitter. This is all that little smoke and those weird debris things that come up from the dirt and the ground. That can be quite a heavy hitter. Next up is max cars. It can be wise to have a configuration like this. This can help. Now I just leave it here because that works for me. Again, I don't notice this to be a wild heavy hitter, but at the same time, reducing this, the amount of cars drawn in a race can really help. So the cars that are closer will have more graphics, or they'll look better, but there's a setting for that kind of later on. All of this can be left the same. This is kind of the same preference that you would have in your normal graphic settings. You can kind of leave this to the same. Here is some very important settings. This is how good the game looks in general, or the sim. Anisotropic filtering, you want to leave that in 16x. This is kind of very important. MSAA samples, as much as you can do. So 16 and 8 ideally. These can save a little bit if you reduce them, but your game will look completely different. These guys here, you want to make sure dynamic objects is off. This is a huge heavy hitter for frames per second. All this stuff, leave this on. This can be a bit taxing, but this is what shows you, you know, skid marks. This shows you the changing track and stuff. So you need to have 16x for this to work, and if this is on, you need anisotropic filtering on as well. So moving on, we have our filter here. The default, I believe, is this or this. I usually just go one up. I find that this kind of hits me a little bit hard, but having it on this is a huge step up from these two guys. So again, the filter, squeeze as much as you can out of it. It'll really make the thing look nice, but that can hurt a little bit. Cube maps, make sure you have these off. They do not give very little added visual effect for quite a significant gain, so I wouldn't go near that. So that's this setting. This shader quality, if you were to put this on medium, it'll just block out some settings. So we're still on ultra, but we've customized it to ourselves. Next on is another very important heavy hitter, cockpit mirrors. These guys you can leave on. You know, if you really are looking for those tiny gains, by all means. High quality trees can go down, 2-pass trees can go down. They'll still look the same, but again, in VR, when you're trying to be immersed, you know, having the trees not look like crosses and actually looking flourishy, you can see in the corner of the screen, they do look decent, can make a bit of a difference. Cockpit mirrors, if you do want them on, this is very important, have 2. Having a third mirror really hurts, and I mean like really hurts. It's an added strain, so don't think of it in a sense that, oh, it's either cockpit mirrors or none. You can do cockpit mirrors, but consider doing 2 rather than 3, because having that middle mirror in most cars that have one can be very taxing, and it's just not worth it in my eyes if you are struggling with frames. Because some tracks you may not, but some tracks you will. Like Algarve is a very heavy taxing track. There's a lot of tracks, Portimao, the new one. So obviously higher detail in mirrors, we're not going to have that on, but if you do have this and you can run it, it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. Your mirrors look way cleaner. But if you want mirrors and you're still struggling a bit in the frames per second, you want this off. Again, here we go. This has a little bit, a very small improvement. If you were to leave this on low, you will still see the bright lights, you know, so I would consider leaving this as high as you can, putting them down. This is only for night racing. Not a lot of people do night racing. It's very rare that it pops up on the calendar, so you don't have to have this all the way up. Personally, I've knocked down a lot of other things that have given me more benefit than this in the past, so I leave that there. Headlights on track in mirrors, I'd recommend leaving this on. If you are rocking mirrors, you want that on. It's either one or the other. I wouldn't go having them on and off because it's too mix and matchy. So next is here, I would recommend leaving on FXAA if you're going to use the anti-aliasing. Even though SMAA is meant to be the smoother one, this one actually costs less performance. It actually looks smoother. It's quite bizarre, but it's just the way it is. So don't argue with it. This one here, this kind of deals with reflections. This can be quite a heavy hitter. If you have this off, I would recommend to try it off and see how that affects rain, how puddles look and stuff like that. This is very important for rain, so see how it looks, and if you're happy with the performance boost and you can handle the way the track looks, which it definitely doesn't look that bad, leave it off. It's not the end of the world. Or you can, you know, do what you want here. You can customize it. It's very well done. It's low rain only, high rain only, low always, or high always. I don't have a performance impact with that, so I just leave it on high always. Sharpening, crucial to leave that on. It doesn't cost much, and it really is important for making things not look weird or like you're in a computer, especially in VR, so very important to leave that on. HDR can be a bit taxing, but this is what makes lights, brake lights, look like flares, like they have a glare to them as opposed to just red little pixels. So HDR can be quite important. You know if you have this setting on, because if you've ever been on a track and the sun gets in your face and it's all, that's how you know you have HDR on. This here can help a little bit actually, I believe. Let me see. Yes, so closer cars will have better graphics than the ones further away. I leave that on personally because I've never noticed it looking iffy, and any help I can get to put into somewhere else, I'll take it. This one here now can require a little bit extra. 2048 by 2048 car textures, that just boosts up the quality quite a lot. The cars will look excellent. It can cost a little bit, so just be wary about using that. Do try it, but as far as the heavy hitters, we have this guy, we have this guy, we have cockpit mirrors, we have the filter here, cube maps, dynamic objects, we have this a little bit, foliage and particles, and that's pretty much it. Everything after that, well, then you can start stripping away the flesh and really going down to nothing. But definitely if you're struggling with frames per second, those are the guys you want to try first. So come here, if you enjoyed the video, or if you have any other tips, because this is obviously my own version of this. This is what works for me, but something may work differently for you, so do feel free to share it down below because someone else could benefit from it. And yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys.